This is a casual conversation with Dr. Greg Celaya. I'm Mark Allen. Dr. Celaya, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
We are going to talk about the brain today and brain inflammation. Let's start by taking a look at what inflammation is. I understand that a lot of people, alternative and allopathic doctors and healthcare practitioners, are now saying that inflammation is the start of all disease.
Well, it is. It is the start of just about every disease that we know of at this point. The problem lies is what came first, a disease process or the inflammation. At this point, we're dealing with the inflammation. Will we find out stuff later? Maybe so.
Again, basic things to do to avoid inflammation: eat right, exercise.
Absolutely. The biggest issue with neurological degeneration is you may present with brain fog. That's a real common one. Memory issues. I mean, the list goes on and on.
What is brain fog?
You just feel foggy. You just don't feel like you're all there.
It's like saying, gee, when I was 20, I could do this and remember everything, but now I'm writing things down?
Yeah, well, it's not only that, memory issues, but you feel like you're just not present. You don't feel alive, you don't feel awake, and when times go by, it just seems like it was just a memory.
You just don't feel good. You don't feel 100%.
You don't feel 100%.
What are other ramifications of brain inflammation?
There's another aspect to neurodegeneration, and you have to really start looking at neuroplasticity. What neuroplasticity is the ability of the existing neurons to make up for the neurons that have died. That way, you can really understand that if neurodegeneration and neuroplasticity remain balanced, you're going to be okay. But if neurodegeneration takes over, you're going to have problems with memory or other types of issues.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that really does. So how do I get it? And more importantly, how do I get rid of brain inflammation?
Well, the biggest problem is people don't know they have it. Food's a real big issue. There's a lot of other big issues as well. You mentioned exercise, real important. Not necessarily exercising your brain the way that you should, and most people don't really know how to exercise the brain.
Yeah, so give me an example of a brain exercise.
All right, so are you good at math?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
That's what you should be doing, right?
Right.
You've actually got to create pathways that your nerves start to build in your inadequacies because of neurological degeneration, because of neurons that have already died.
And in math, because, when I was in high school, we used a slide rule. I have it. I can show it to you. I don't remember how to use it, but we used a slide rule. Then the calculators came about, and you don't need to multiply, 87 times 42 anymore. You could just do it like that.
Well, it's that way with everything. I mean, when was the last time you used a map, right? And how many people use a GPS to get to a location and then have to go again?
Right.
And they don't even remember how to get there after they've been there?
I do that all the time.
Everybody does.
Everybody does.
You've got to exercise the brain.
But don't you have to, remember the important stuff? I mean, if I know where Greg Celaya's office is, I can put it in my GPS. I don't have to think about it. It says turn left, turn right, get on this freeway, get off that freeway.
Yeah, and that's true. And I always like the saying that the bus is full, nobody else can get on. But that's not the case when it comes to a healthy brain.
What about fatigue and depression? How does that relate to brain inflammation?
The fatigue is a real big issue, and you have to understand that your brain is using a lot of energy. Fatigue is a problem, and it can be neurologically based.
What about depression and brain inflammation, doctor?
Well, when you have inflammatory issues of the brain, these cells release something we call cytokines. They're signals between the cells. The problem is when your cells release cytokines, that causes a problem with serotonin, your feel-good hormone. And therefore, you may end up with depression.
What about memory?
If you walk into a room and you forget what you went there for, once in a while, understandable. But if it's happening all the time, you may have an issue. The thing you have to understand is memory is basically controlled out of your temporal lobe on the sides. But so is smell and so is balance. So you may have other things that you notice that are not memory related, but may be the first phases of degeneration of the temporal lobe.
Of course, people who are 50 plus are all afraid of the A word, and that's Alzheimer's.
Well, the Alzheimer's now, we classified it as type 3 diabetes. It's a sugar issue.
So diet, again, plays a foremost part in not only not having brain inflammation, but preventing or slowing the process of dementia and Alzheimer's.
Oh, sure. And the problem is that once you have neurologic degeneration, it's hard to slow down and it's hard to stop. But a lot of cells have already died by that time.
Do these cells rebuild like our blood cells?
No, you have to get the other cells to make up for their death. So in other words, they're making up for their job. That's what we call neuroplasticity.
If somebody has questions for you, wants to contact you, what is the best way for them to do that?
You know, you can get a hold of me at drcelaya.com, CELAYA.com, and there's a place there you can contact me. There's a lot of great information and videos.
For Dr. Greg Celaya, I'm Mark Allen. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.